Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. Today, we are starting with a quote from the famous book, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It goes as follows. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, and we were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on it being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. In other words, abanye bazokhala. Abanye bazokhala. In other words, that's what Charles Dickens was trying to say. Because if you think about it, since the 6th of July, some people have been crying in media interviews because of the tsunami that was unleashed by General Mkhwanazi on Fiasco Sunday, Conundrum Sunday, Tsunami Sunday. Brown envelope Mkhotsi crying in different media interviews. All of a sudden, he's disappeared. We miss you, Brown. Where are you, Brown? We miss you. General Shadrack Sibiya was crying about Mkhwanazi, crying about the KZN task teams in the media. He was lamenting when he went to the ad hoc committee, and he will be lamenting some more when he goes to the Madlanga Commission. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu also lamenting because of what he said at the ad hoc committee in Parliament. Think about all of the lamenting, but at the same time, there are people who are joyful, exuberant. Joyous celebrations abound because finally there is accountability. Finally, there's transparency. Finally, there are some people who are pushing back against the HOSH curry behavior, the HOSH shenanigans, the HOSH curry stands who have been dominating all over and acting with impunity, infiltrating the police, the executive, and other sectors of society so that they can orchestrate their vision of demonic conquerage of South Africa. Those powers and principalities are shaking now. They're shaking now because they are being challenged. That's what's happening. Today, that challenge continued. And I think Police Minister Senzo Mchunu will be unhappy. I think General Shadrack Sibiya will be unhappy. Today, the Deputy Minister of Police, Kasal Matale, was testifying in the ad hoc committee in Parliament. And it looked like he came to finish the job that was started by former Minister Pegitsele. You know, there was a combo back in the days in wrestling when Undertaker was fighting with his brother Kane. Two giants. And when they were fighting together, they were known as the Brothers of Destruction. Ding, ding, Undertaker comes in. Then Paul Bearer comes in. Ooh. This is not an urn. This is my coffee transit mug from Seattle. It's not an urn. Anyway, point I'm making is that when the Brothers of Destruction were fighting together, if you were on the other side, I mean, let's just, for the sake of the conversation, pretend like wrestling is real. Sorry to disappoint those who were not aware, but it's scripted. But let's pretend and assume that it were real. The Brothers of Destruction coming to hit you with the 1-2, 1-2. How do you beat Kane and the Undertaker together? This is what they must be feeling like. So what are the takeaways from what Kasal Matale said? The first takeaway is that the Deputy Minister was not aware of the directive to disband the task team. He was not consulted on the decision. He only found out on social media. He described the directive as being unusual. He actually thought the letter was a fake letter. And this is damaging because he outlines that on other issues, there were open lines of communication between himself and Minister of Police Senzo Mchunu. Of course, there's that usual conversation that comes up about the value of deputy ministers. You know, the president has promised prior to shrink the cabinet. When he was campaigning, even in 2017, I think he was making those same types of promises. And now the cabinet is expanded. So even though there's that discussion, I don't think it fits in well here because Kasal Matale was saying Minister Mchunu was consultative, was speaking to him. And then at some point he got a call actually letting him know that that directive was real. This, I think, speaks to that argument that has been made that this decision seems to have been rushed. It wasn't a decision which went through the proper processes of making sure that it is fully rational and researched. The reliance on Aunt Mary, the reliance on, these anonymous complaints, etc., I think is not going to hold up for Minister Mchunu. The second takeaway is that Castle Matale said actually that the task team was doing good work. He said the political task team was not necessarily a response to fighting crime, but it was a specific response to fighting political killings that happened in KwaZulu-Natal, and it did a very good job as a task team. This is a rebuttal that is offered by yet another person who has been in the police ministry for a long time to the rationale that was provided by Minister Mchunu. Remember, an administrative action, and I explained in one of the earlier videos, must have adequate reasons. Not only reasons, but those reasons must be adequate, backing it up. And the reasons that were given on the 31st do not hold up. The reasons that were then given later face two challenges. One, they're getting these rebuttals from people who are working in the ministry. Now you've got former Minister Pekitele, now you've got Deputy Minister Castle Matale saying and piling on, disagreeing with the rationale being given and the argument being given by Minister Mchunu. So on level one, you can't cleanse the act with reasons proffered later. Your reasons must still be in line with the reasons you gave the first time. And the second level, the reasons that you gave are being challenged by people who were in the police ministry for much longer than you. This is why I'm saying it's Undertaker and Kane. Undertaker and Kane, because it's pain, 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 pain. Hey, the things that we are seeing. The third takeaway is that he said the task team was not irregularly constituted, which is one of the arguments that was made by Senzo Mchunu. He also said there were no budgetary issues that he was aware of in respect to the task team. They asked him about this, and he said the political killings task team never incurred irregular expenditure that he knew of. He said that's not a real thing. He also rebutted the idea of a time frame, which was argued by the minister, the idea that the task team was only there for a time frame. He said there was no time frame that the political killings task team is going to exist from January to December. It was established to deal with a specific problem, and as long as that problem exists, and he says the problem has not been completely resolved, that task team would continue to exist. This is similar to also what Pekitele said. He also said it's not true that they all know Vusi Matlala Wetsamanyala. He said, we don't know this cat. We don't know this cat in the bag. That's what he said. He also said he doesn't have the contact details of gangsters. This was a bit of a diss to both General Shadrack Sibiya and General Pekitele, who've kind of argued that these type of contacts matter. But when you really think about the totality of everything Pekitele said he was not aware about everything Vusi Matlala was doing because he was flying under the radar. He only got to find out much later. So it was more Shadrack Sibiya than it was to Pekitele. Now, to make a comment on all of this, the whole time I've been asking myself, who is going to be the fall guy in the whole saga? Because at some point, you have to think about how is this going to end? And politically, this has to be managed. Otherwise, chaos will break out. At some point, the public needs to see closure in the handling of this issue. There has to be somebody who takes accountability. It's gone too far and the public knows too much. These issues touch painful experiences of the public on the streets. These cartels are implicated in many of the challenges that people are facing in their communities and also in service delivery. The allegations are that they're involved in car hijacking. The allegations are involved that they're involved in drug dealing, arms trafficking, arms dealing. These are things that have affected communities. If you think about the tender fraud, that's also affected people in terms of service delivery. Think about Hangwani Maumela, the neighbor, the friendly neighbor. He's been linked to Vusi Matlala directly, right? Even though his name is not prominently featured thus far, he has been linked to Vusi Matlala. And that linkage comes from this. They were both directors of Cat VIP Security, the security company with all of these guns that were being used, and that the guns that were then seized by the police. And Vusi Matlala seems to have had access to the gun when he was not supposed to have access to the gun, which is the evidence which we got from Witness C. Right? So when you look at this thing, they were also both getting tenders at Tembisa Hospital. By the way, the linkage is that for 4 or 5 days, good neighbor Hangwani was a registered director on SIPSI for CAT VIP security. Then he realized that it was a blunder, removed himself, because that then became the paper trail. So that paper trail exists, right, in terms of CAT VIP security, Hangwani and Vusi Matlala. Then if you pay attention to this whole thing, it looks as if Matlala was the muscle, right? It's not like Hangwani is his own muscle. It looks like Matlala was the muscle. And he's not as senior as the HOSH neighbor Hangwani in all of this, right? Remember that song? Neighbors. Everybody loves good neighbors. Hangwani is the neighbor of all the powerful people you know. Neighbors. I love singing, guys. I know you want me to go to Idols, record the album. It's gonna happen. Some people don't like the singing, but I gotta sing every now and again just to open my pimbo here to loosen these vocal cords. But good neighbor Hangwani has been implicated multiple times in all of this, right? And if you think about the impact on the public is already frustrated because they're asking questions. Why is Hangwani not charged? Why is the good neighbor not charged in all of this? We've seen now that he's got a 55 million rand car, 65 million, however much it costs, supercar. We've seen all of the cars that he was buying, all of the properties. But he, as far as we know, is still at large. In fact, he's not even at large. He's enjoying his life with these HOSH Karimamas. Enjoying, right? So the public has some angst. So this has to be resolved. So I've been asking myself, how will this get resolved? And it appears as if it's going to get resolved in the manner that some of these guys who you can see are being now thoroughly refuted consistently are going to be the fall guys of this. It's my theory. So I think ultimately Katiso Molefe may be a fall guy. Ultimately Vusi Matlala may be a fall guy. Ultimately, I think there may be an arrest of Hangwani Maumela. I don't think that he's going to get into the second presidential period, not the second presidential period, but rather the next presidential period without facing criminal accountability, because I think it's going to be a glaring thing. But I've been asking who are the people. I think Minister Senzo Mchunu may be a fall guy here. I think also General Shadrack, Sibiya, Shibiri, and some of these other people who've been mentioned will be fall guys. And based on the messaging that you can see, because Beitel is coming in, Kwana is coming in, Masemola is coming in, I think it's looking now clear where the target is really going to hit and how it's going to hit hard. I think it's becoming clear. And the reason why there has to be a fall guy is because people have lost their loved ones in these hospitals. So there's angst in the community. People have broken families because of the drugs, which are flooding the streets. These nyaupes, cocaines, all of these things. People have lost their family members as a result of these substances, right? People have lost loved ones because of the gang violence which is associated with these activities. The shootings which happen in the Cape Flats, in Eldos, in Westbury, in Khayelitsha, in Langa, and all of these other places. Communities have been broken. Other communities have been tragically affected. I know one person, there was a gang shooting and he got hit by what is it called? The secondary fire, and has cerebral palsy now. Been living with cerebral palsy for decades. So communities have been affected by this. So this is touching sensitive spots. It really is. And there's going to have to be somebody who takes eventual accountability. And it's looking like it's going in the direction that I'm speaking. I don't know if you've picked up the same thing. Now, at the same time that this was happening in Parliament, the Madlanga Commission was going on, and we saw a strong rebuttal of the testimony which was provided yesterday. Yesterday, we had some testimony which was trying to kind of basically clean up some of the attacks on the ballistic department in Silverton and all of that. But the commission went and found another witness to come and whippity whip. So let me go through this quickly. So we had a witness today, Modisane, who says in November last year, he was requested to conduct a comparative ballistic analysis on 3 cases: the murder of DJ Somebody, the assassination of DJ Vintos, and the killing of Aman Swat. So today, Captain Modisane was speaking. He was deployed to the political killings task team in September of 2018. He's a senior ballistic expert. He says that it only took him 1 day to link the AK-47 and the pistol in the murders. He says that last year in November, he was requested to do a comparative ballistic analysis on these 3 cases, DJ Somebody, DJ Vintis, and Aman Swat. He told the Madlanga Commission that all three murders, DJ Somebody, Don Tindleni, DJ Vintos, were carried out with the same AK-47. He was speaking about how the gun leaves, unique microscopic marks. There's also primer, which is the residue. All of these things are used by the investigator to connect the crimes to a single weapon. One of the curious things that he said is that the Brumley case is reflected twice on the system, and that the ballistic evidence was examined in Pretoria and in KZN. He said this was bizarre, and it ties into the evidence which was presented by Witness B. He says, of course, that there were suspicions that were raised by the investigating officers of the integrity of the Pretoria lab, hence the KZN thing, and the firearms that were taken to Warrant Officer Kada, who examined them in KZN. He spoke about, that it was strange how Captain Makgotle indicated that there were linkages. Remember, Captain Makgotle spoke to Witness B. He was just yappity yap. He was blabbing. He told her things which will continue to give him nightmares. And this is why a commissioner said it was strange. Commissioner Madlanga said it was strange because he was indicating that there are linkages of these guns to various crimes before the finalization of the ballistic report. What would have made him so loquacious, just talkative? You know how much it is sometimes when they see a Hun, they just talk too much, man. They just talk too much. I'm not saying that's what happened. It's just a theory. Tell me why else would he speak so much? He says, this is Commissioner Madlanga said it was strange. And then Modisane said this suggested that Makgotle may have heard from someone that the firearms are linked to those figures. He said, this is Modisane now. He said that means all along Captain Makgotle knew the firearms from Brumley were possibly linked to other cases, if he indeed told the investigating officers. Think about that. Now, this is the value for me of Witness B and her testimony. This is the value of Witness B and her testimony. Number one, Witness B makes the links between various generals and Katiso Molefe. Her testimony is the one which establishes that General Shibiri has a relationship with Vusiket Matlala. They were messaging each other from the phone analysis. They saw that there were cash transfers from Kat Matlala. The general was giving information on how to counter the investigation to Vusi Matlala. Witness B gives us this. She's the one who went to speak to an inmate who was an important part of her investigation, able to give her more clues and corroborate some of the stuff that she was looking at. For me, she's the star witness in all of this. And I do recommend that everyone go back and watch her testimony in full. She was very authentic, and you can tell she risked everything to get these people behind bars. She's the one who busted Michael Puletao for his failure to adhere to the bail conditions. She went to check. She wasn't playing no games. She went to check. She was double checking everything, counted twice, checked twice. She was doing that. She's the one who makes the strongest links between Katiso Molefe and the judiciary and bail tampering and the 2.5 million, whatever. She was able to show that this guy has power to get bail even when facing allegations of such a serious nature. And she has been vindicated twice now because he's gotten bail twice under conditions of unclear legal reasoning, which were also contradicted by the fact that Vusi Matlala got denied bail by basically the same court. She's the one who explains fully the issue which occurred with the attempts to tamper with the evidence at the ballistic center, the issue around what Makgotle then said about those particular things. And she even gave us the full explanation about how they had to go back and end up taking the workstation, because she was able to show at some point that even the casings analysis had been edited. The ballistics analysis, they were doing a document-to-document comparison to say, can you see, this was taken out of the document. That all comes from Witness B. And then they go to the ballistic center, they get the workstation, they seal the workstation, they respond to calls. They also do the due diligence of going to get affidavits because now there's a narrative that there was an attempt to kidnap, etc. She's the one who got Makgotle talking about the linkages to all of these weapons. She's the one who had the presence of mind to keep tabs on all of this when it did not show up in the results. They had to go and get the man's workstation. This is the power of Witness B. And these guns have been linked to so many acts of criminality thus far. one really wonders what the full extent of the ballistic assessments will be when all the guns that have been seized from Katiso Molefe, Vusi Matlala, Cat VIP, all of these guns have been taken through a robust forensic process. So that's what's been happening. I just go back, guys, and watch the testimony of Witness P. There's so much there that you don't go back and watch it. But that's what happened today. I hope you're all caught up now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Keep watching for more videos on this and much more. Till the next one.